I'm just going to go right ahead and say it, and Doge could be headed toward $10 according to a chart that I'm about to show you. In fact, let me tease it for you a little bit. It's this chart right here indicating a potential $10 target. I'm going to come back to that in just a second, but it makes complete sense because Doge has been rallying like crazy. I mean, from the beginning of September up until this high, it's managed to pull a 5 times gain, which is not quite as big as Bitcoin. Bitcoin has pumped by more than this from its cycle low, and just over the last couple of days, Doge has actually managed to triple just in 9 days here, which is very, very impressive. From its absolute low, Doge has actually outperformed Bitcoin, so that's really cool. And the thing about this chart is it's just gone so crazy, but we've actually seen all of this price action and this kind of behavior before, and we're going to be breaking it down. Now, before I continue on, this is a very heated market, and the best thing you can do for yourself right now is have more money that you can throw into the market, especially if that money is free. So check out these links below if you want to be able to trade with more free capital. All you have to do is start trading on these exchanges after you use this link, and they're going to give you more free money. You can throw it right into Doge, and if you make any profits, you can withdraw them, no problems. Check it out if you're not from a restricted region, if you're allowed to in your country. But if we bring it back to this chart here, starting off with the short term, let's take a look at this and really kind of break down and try and make sense of what's been going on. You see, after that Trump presidency, take a look at this. Things just went crazy with Elon Musk potentially playing a role in the US government as well, maybe with the Department of Government Efficiency, which is hilarious and very much needed as well. And if we take a look at how Doge has been moving, it's just been absolutely insane parabolic price action in very, very short spaces of time. It's more than tripled in just 3 days, but since then it's also dipped down by 20%, and critically it's fallen into a zone of support that we already knew about on this chart. If we go ahead and kind of stretch this thing back, we already kind of knew that this was an interesting zone on this chart for Dogecoin. This is roughly the 33 cents area, and it's very nice to see that Doge was bouncing off it, because what I'm going to get to later on when we start talking about a $10 Doge, this stuff is going to become very, very relevant. Now, I'm also going to be telling you why a $10 Doge might not happen, because my job as a real trader, rather than somebody that just sits around in a circle making sure that everybody is happy and just kind of patting each other on the back. My job is to be realistic. And so I have to look at both sides. And now that you're watching the best YouTube channel on crypto, you're going to be doing the same thing. So smash up the likes for that, ladies and gents, if you are pumped up. We've broken all of these resistance levels. This is Doge's all-time high, and it looks like it's about to break that all-time high. I mean, it's so close to it right now. It only needs to move up by another 90%, which in Doge language is very, very easy. And from the high that it set just like today, I think it was, it only needs to go up by another 70%. And the beautiful thing about this chart is obviously, last time when Doge got up here, it was just a straight moonshot higher, right? Take a look at how this chart was looking back then, and you're going to notice that, the chart didn't really, slow down, right? I mean, like once we got above this yellow box here, the chart just flew upwards, and then on the way back down, it was also very quick. And so what that tells us is that basically everything that happens for Doge's price kind of above that yellow box at 33 cents, it happens very quickly. It's almost like a very thin atmosphere. You can move through these price ranges really quickly, which is amazing if you're a trader. It's amazing if you're holding, and my God, it is the worst thing ever if you're sidelined and if you haven't actually bought the coin. But on that note, things are actually looking like we could be getting a pullback. I actually want to draw your attention back to the present day here and show you why I'm saying that, because Doge has moved up quite aggressively, but if we take a look at some of its indicators that could be providing it some support, it's very far away from them. If we take a look at the daily EMA ribbon, that EMA line right now is sitting at 21 cents. Like Doge would have to pretty much crash in half in order to get down to this support indicator here on the daily. On the 4-hour time frame, it's a little bit better, but I'll tell you what's really interesting is on the daily time frame, ever since the election, take a look at this. That's November 5th. Ever since the election, this hourly EMA ribbon has given Doge a 100% success rate in predicting where it might bounce, right? The idea is very straightforward. It's that whenever Doge falls into the ribbon, that's when a bounce might come. And so from that perspective, we're actually looking incredibly strong right now. But the problems start when we zoom out a little bit more. You see, if we take a look at things that are a little bit less aggressive, like that Ichimoku cloud indicator, this support zone doesn't actually start. It's so cool. This indicator actually sees into the future. And if you want to watch more content on this indicator, how to use it, how to get it, you can click around the description. It might be there, or just type this into the YouTube search bar, and you can actually watch my full tutorial on how to get this indicator and how to use it, because it predicts support in the future. It's absolutely crazy. And if Doge is able to kind of fall into that that zone, then I think that actually it should have a very nice chance to continue to rise on higher, and that could be very, very exciting indeed. So I'm going to be keeping an eye out for that over here. But the problems continue, though, in terms of Doge potentially dropping, because it has moved up so aggressively. And one of the things that we understand is that when a chart moves up so aggressively, if it does start coming back down, you don't, like, if I asked you to find, where the support levels are on this chart, you wouldn't be able to. And the reason that you wouldn't be able to identify the support is because the market didn't stop moving, right? When the market is moving up, if it pauses a little bit and then continues to go up, now you can kind of expect that, yeah, okay, you might find support here because you kind of previously consolidated, but that hasn't happened over here, which means that there could be some pretty steep drops to come for Doge, and we can actually, visualize them quite well. We've got the VPVR on the chart over here showing us some of these interesting price levels, and of course, we're back down to the same level, the 21-cent area, where we're starting to see some nice big spikes here, and many, many more spikes down in the teens as well, but I don't necessarily think that we're going down that low. And if we take a look at Doge kind of from the very beginning of this year up until now, you can get another sense of the idea of just kind of how we've just blown through resistance, but how all of the trading ranges for Doge are lower than where we are right now. Like, all of these bars represent Doge trading activity. It means like this big spike here means that there's a lot of trading activity for Doge at about 13 cents. And you can see how there's nothing up here, right? And the problem is that if the market does start coming back down, you're not going to be able to find support typically until you get down to where the spikes start. And that's going to be a point of concern, I think, but it doesn't have to be too concerning. And the reason that I don't want this to be, too worrying in this market right now is because of how beautiful this chart looks. Now, I need to show this to you with a chart that has a lot more price history, because this actually goes back very, very far, like ridiculously far. But if we take a look at this from a couple of our previous market cycles, and I don't even know if this chart has enough price history, so let me just what am I doing? Let me just pull this up on a different chart. Yeah, right here. This is going to be the ideal chart to be analyzing Dogecoin on. And what we're going to start to see right here, ladies and gents, this is so interesting, is if we bring it back to 2018, Doge's kind of price behavior throughout its entire... This is really important, right? I mean, if you don't analyze stuff like this to understand its characteristics, then you're going to have no idea how it can even get to $10. And that's going to be obviously the star of this show. It's the reason that you're watching this YouTube video. But you see the characteristics of Doge, they're really, really healthy, actually. What we get are really nice moves up, maybe a pullback, but then you continue on higher. But for the most part, most importantly, when Doge moves upwards, it doesn't actually lose its gains very much, right? I mean, it ends up trading in a sideways trading range, which is still higher than its previous equilibrium, right? This was Doge's previous equilibrium, where it spent a lot of time trading in this range, right? Take a look at this. If we kind of measure how long Doge spent down here, that was a 1,000-day period. And then on this occasion, again, we're looking similarly at a 1,000-day period. And on this occasion here, being more or less sideways, again, roughly a 1,000-day period. It's so strange how Doge moves in 1,000-day cycles. It's really, really interesting. But I think that also indicates that, we could be coming toward the end of this 1,000-day cycle, and it makes complete sense that Bitcoin is also pumping up. And so what this starts looking like to me now is actually something a little bit like this, where if we take a look at this chart from 2018 all the way to 2021, right? So that's basically on this chart here, that's going to be basically from here up to about here. Then what you're going to notice, and it's the exact same pattern that Doge is in right now. It's so beautiful. What you're going to notice is that this market set an all-time high up here at 2 cents, only 2 cents on the dollar, and then Doge kind of went in this long-term, basically a cup, and then it formed this handle right here, and this handle is what's really interesting, because it could be what we're about to produce right now. You see, Doge has kind of done the same thing over here, where we set that all-time high, this time at 72 cents rather than 2 cents, but then we form that very, very same kind of cup pattern, and then usually that is going to be followed by some sort of a handle, and then that's what kind of leads the market to really, really skyrocket from there. And I'm going to expand on this in just a minute, but I have to make it clear just how crazy this could get in terms of this market, right? I mean, if we're looking at something similar to last time, right? I mean, this move, if we kind of measure it from where it started down here up to the top, that was a 10,000% move. And look, it's not clear at all if the same thing can happen again, but you don't even need a 10,000% move to get up to $10. It's only going to take a 2,700% move from where we are right now. and then from the low of this market cycle, it will be an 18,000% move. So it is really important to keep these things in perspective, because on the extreme side, and you're starting to see why it's not all, sunshine and rainbows here. It could actually be, well, I mean, even if it, reaches $1 or $2, it'd still be very impressive. But it could be a more difficult path up for Doge, and we really need to be grounded in reality here. That's what this YouTube channel is all about. You come to this channel if you want realistic analysis, mostly if you want to make money, right? If you want to make money, you're going to come to this channel. If you want excitement and joy and euphoria, then you can go somewhere else. But we don't really do that. We're not really interested in the emotions. We just want to make the money and get out. Obviously, we got better things to do in our lives, so that's why we're here. And if that kind of vibes with you, if you feel like that sounds like you, then smash up the likes for me. Double check that you're subscribed. And obviously, the free cash that these exchanges are giving you is cash that you can throw right back into Doge or into any other meme coin that you like. And the beautiful thing about all of that is that if these coins run and you've traded them with free money, you're still going to be able to withdraw those profits. But if you somehow lose the money, or it doesn't quite go your way, then who cares? It's a big company losing money, not you. And so I think that's actually really, really cool. So check them out if you are allowed to in your country. They're really, really well worth checking out. Blowfin is much more aggressive than Bybit in terms of their bonuses, but you do have to be depositing and trading in order to get these bonuses. If you just sign up, it's not going to be enough. They're not going to give them to you, but check them out if that sounds good to you. And if we do take a look at this, I mean, like I said, this does look like where Doge could be right now in terms of potentially forming the exact same kind of pattern where you set that high, bam, set that high, you enter a long kind of depression. There you go. There's that long depression. They all seem to last 1,000 days, and this one has also perfectly lasted 1,000 days as well, which is fantastic. And then obviously, you get that initial very, very big pump, and then it kind of cools off a little bit potentially. And we don't know if we're in that cool off stage yet. That's kind of what makes this a little bit more complicated. But naturally, a lot of the time cool offs do come, whether you want them to come or not, they do tend to come. And that's why I'm, basically behaving as though it will come, because it would be it would be unusual if we didn't get a pullback. That's my point, right? And I think that's very, very important. But huge moves here for Doge if that does end up happening. And obviously, what happened after this little bit of a correction was a massive 10,000% pump, right? So that's where this stuff gets really, really interesting, because if we're able to do something similar to that right now, just like this first chart I've shown you, I mean, this move up here in 2017 was a 10,000% move. This one here was a 30,000% move in total, which is just insane. But if Doge manages to pull off the same thing again from this low right here, basically where we kicked off this major bull run, that does put a 10,000% pump at $10 for Doge. Now, one of the things I need to tell you immediately before you start getting your lotion out and you get super excited is that by market cap, this doesn't really make sense, right? Doge right now is at 40 cents. And so for it to get to $10, it basically has to pull off 25 times gain, something like that. And its market cap would be, basically above $1 trillion if Doge managed to get that high. And, these numbers won't make sense to you yet, but if I put them in the context of companies, it's going to make a lot more sense. Take a look at this right here. This is the global ranking of all the top assets, commodities, companies, everything. And what's really interesting over here with this website is that all of the gold bars in the whole world combined are worth $17.5 trillion. All of the Bitcoins combined are worth 1.7, which, by the way, flips silver. That officially means that Bitcoin has flipped silver. So smash up the likes for that, ladies and gents. If that pumps you up like it's pumping me up, that's a really big deal. It's so close to flipping Saudi Aramco as well. So we're very, very keen on seeing how this is going to be going for Bitcoin. But, if we do start to put these numbers in perspective, we're already back to the $1 trillion mark here. This is Tesla worth $1 trillion. This is Berkshire Hathaway worth $1 trillion. A lot of other big companies that many of you guys will be knowing. And I think what's really interesting is that if Doge manages to reach those kind of price targets like $10, it would basically place Doge in like the top 10, top 15 of, the total assets in the world by market cap. And, to me that, and so in other words, it means that all of the Doge coins in existence would be worth the same as the entire company of Tesla right now, or it would be worth slightly less than the entire company of Facebook right now. And, given that it's a meme coin, that narrative doesn't really make sense to me. But I'll tell you what, it doesn't have to be that extreme. If Doge gets up to, a more reasonable number, like put it this way, yeah, if Bitcoin's sitting at a $1.7 trillion market cap, if Ethereum is sitting at a $400 billion market cap, Given that Dogecoin is such a big deal, given that it now, through Elon Musk's love for the dog and the coin, could be tied to the federal government in some way, given that there's a lot of pumpamentals here, basically, ladies and gents, I think it is reasonable to see Dogecoin, let's say everything goes up, Bitcoin reaches a 3 trillion market cap, Ethereum reaches $1 trillion. These are reasonable numbers to me. If that does end up happening, I can see Doge reaching, a couple $100 billion market cap, and I'm conservative, right? You might be a little bit more bullish than me, but I can see Doge reaching $200 billion in market cap, and from current prices, that still means it's got a 4 times gain, and I know that might not sound that crazy, but you take what you get here. We're not about being greedy, right? Again, like I said a few minutes ago, when you come to this YouTube channel, you're going to get realistic perspectives and takes. And so, if that kind of thing, upsets you, and if you don't really like the sound of that, then obviously this channel's not going to be for you. But if you actually appreciate the realism, then yeah, 4x is fucking great, man. 4x is really, really good. And not to mention, it's already pulled off a 5x just to get here. So, I mean, in total, you're looking at like a 20 times gain just from these lows here. And I think that is incredibly impressive. I think that's a really, really big deal. And I think that tells us a lot about how exciting this particular market could be. So I'm definitely looking forward to what could be happening here. But I'll tell you what, I'm not actually done, because this thing gets a whole lot better if we start taking a look at this Bitcoin chart here. And the reason that this is exciting is if we go ahead and choose this Poloniex chart for a lot of price history, Dogecoin throughout its entire history in this particular market cycle has just been very, 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 very slowly trending down. And that's put it in a very interesting zone where it started to bottom out right here at about 1,500 Satoshis, right? That's kind of 1,600 Satoshis. That's like the smallest denomination of Bitcoin. But what gets interesting is if we actually go ahead and zoom out, and I'm going to have to look at this on the weekly time frame now because we're looking so far back in time. We're looking all the way back to 2014 on this particular chart. But if we do stretch this all the way back, this is actually a zone that has been interesting for Doge against Bitcoin historically, and it goes back to 2014. It goes back 10 years, more than 10 years now that this zone has been relevant in this market for Doge. And so to see that Doge is getting a really big bounce off this level now, to me, that's a huge indication that things could be about to really change. Now, we've had this a couple of times before. We had one over here, we had one over here, and neither of them worked out. So, we don't want to be getting too overly excited too quickly, but is this time different? Well, I'll tell you what, ladies and gents, I mean, this one happened at the end of 2022. I have no idea why, because the whole market was dying. It's probably just because Doge was falling a little bit slower than Bitcoin. This one here happened when we were bullish, so it makes sense, but it was very small. But this one happened when Bitcoin broke an all-time high, reached $90,000. Donald Trump got elected. Elon Musk is now sitting in Mar-a-Lago, potentially going to have a seat in the federal government. And meme coins are exploding. And so, I don't like saying phrases like this time is different, and because it's a little bit of cope, and, we're not really interested in cope. But when you look at the facts here, we clearly are in a completely different market situation this time compared to our fake out this time, and compared to our just weird anomaly this time. What we're seeing now today is much more real for many, many reasons. And look, you're going to make your own opinions. I'm not here to sway you one way or the other, but if you're already bullish on Doge, then this is going to make you strap your jetpack on even tighter and make sure you're even more topped up for fuel, because this thing could be flying very, very high. And I think that's what really makes this particularly interesting against Bitcoin, is if it can gain against Bitcoin, then it becomes really interesting, right? Because we understand that when we're in coins like Doge, we're taking a lot of additional risk, and so if we're taking that additional risk, it has to be worth it, right? Compared to Bitcoin, Doge is very, very risky. And so I should be making much, much more money on Doge than I'm making on Bitcoin for that to be worth it. And the best way to visualize that is the Bitcoin chart. If it's gaining against Bitcoin, that means it's getting stronger against Bitcoin. That means you're making more money than you would have made if you were in Bitcoin. And that, to me, makes all the difference. That makes all the difference. That makes it a really, really big deal. And again, we saw what happened in the last market cycle. In the last market cycle, Doge managed to gain 8,000% against Bitcoin. So far from this low, Doge is already up by a factor of nearly 3x against Bitcoin. And just for it to return to this high, which I think is super likely, it's a 700% from the low or a 200% from where we are right now, basically another 3x against Bitcoin, which is crazy because if you put one Bitcoin in now and it reaches that high, that's 3 Bitcoins at the top. So definitely very, very exciting. Obviously a super risky chart, but this risk is not scary when you've got the free money linked here. So that's absolutely sick. Again, only for people not in restricted regions. And obviously with everything that we're seeing on this chart right now, for me, it's going to be most interesting if this thing does start to pull back, and those support levels are so well defined right now that it should be quite easy to kind of see where I might want to, maybe take some trades here, maybe, pick up a little bit or whatever the case may be. Like I said, 33 cents makes sense for a potential bounce zone. 28 cents over here is another one that I've got drawn, but I don't think it's actually that important. I'm actually going to go ahead and make this a little bit more transparent because I don't want to focus too much on this particular level. But obviously the key level is going to be all the way back down here at about 21 cents. Like I said, that is pretty much halving in value from where we are right now for Doge. But we've seen that before many, many times, right? I mean, take a look at this pullback right here. This was a 63% pullback. Most of this pullback, or a lot of this pullback, actually happened just within 3 weeks, where it dropped by 42%, right? Take a look at this one right here, where it dropped by 39% in a couple of weeks. It's actually kind of unclear just how quickly and how much it dropped because of how quickly that stuff happened. But look at this, 56% within a week. It's very much Doge's, love language, right? To halve in value within like 7 days and then just keep going up afterwards. So Doge has been set off right now. Like I said, usually we are going to see a pullback after a, massive flagpole like this. And that pullback is going to get really interesting because that's where the really big money can be made if the market does continue on exploding. So I'm super excited for this. I know you are too. Smash up the likes if you feel that way too. And obviously double check that you are subscribed so that you don't miss out on any of this super time sensitive content. Check that bell icon as well if you want to ensure that YouTube notifies you of this content as well. And with that, ladies and gents, I am going to be heading off. There's a lot more altcoin analysis coming out later on, and also make sure to check out these videos and content on X, on Twitter. It's linked at the top of the description. This video and other videos are sometimes being posted first to X, and some of these videos are just exclusive to X. You're not even going to get them here on YouTube. So if you want to get more like this, you got to go follow me on Twitter. It's linked to the top of the description. With that, ladies and gents, thank you all so much, and I'll see you all in the next one.